Want me to get this going?
Yeah, let's have some fun.
All right. So today for our episode of Deadlifts, Dogs, and Dad Jokes, we're going to go through a topic that we've gone through before. I think we're sort of rehashing a topic that we always talk about. We're going to talk about our top fitness tips for our clients, kind of how we start everything off when we, everything from onboarding a client, so when they first come in, all the way up to, guiding them through the process over the long term. Me and Demarco have been coaches for, probably 6-7 years?
Oh, wow, yeah.
So
I just hit 8. Yeah.
8 years, yeah. So we have a good amount of experience under our belt. Sean and Tommy couldn't make today, but we'll hope to get them in soon for more episodes. We've had a little lull period, but I think we've been as far as getting episodes in, but we've been consistent in other areas as far as just being busy in our own lives. But yeah. So, but either way, we'll kick it off with me as far as how I sort of conduct my onboarding process, but also where I see importance when someone wants to come in to train. And for me, I think the biggest thing is, figuring out, and this is very basic, but should be said, what is their fitness goals, right? So what are they looking to accomplish when they come in? How much experience they have, so what's their previous training history, any injuries that they have, and sort of just setting them up with a plan. I think at the end of the day, when I meet with somebody, it's what are our next steps. I think that's really important. I think a lot of times it gets lost in the shuffle of, you give somebody a program, quote unquote, depending on how many times they're meeting with you, but all those other hours in the day when you're not with them, you want to make sure that you're guiding them through the process. So I try to set up phone calls with a lot of clients, so like weekly phone calls, just to keep them on task and make sure that they're keeping up with everything I want them to do.
That's awesome.
So I think the big thing that I've learned right away, over the course of the last couple of years is just follow-ups and being consistent with that. So here, baby crying.
Yeah.
Is that that's probably common, right?
Oh, all the time. All the time.
Yeah. But yeah, I would say the big thing for me is just being consistent with the follow-ups, and even if they're like somebody that's not as consistent as they can be based on life events or whatever else, I just try to make sure that I'm on them to just get in more when they, as far as even if it's just a half hour, just get something in. But I try to guide them the best at my ability. So, but a little bit of my process, I want to kind of break it down. I have on my iPad, I have a couple notes here. So after like a brief questionnaire with my clients, after you go through their goals and stuff like that, after the onboarding process, I'll do what we call an in-body, which we have at Lifetime where I work. So the in-body goes through everything from like your body weight, your skeletal muscle mass, body fat percentage. And also last number is ECW and TBW. So it's water. So it's inflammation to water. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
Oh no, that's cool.
So basically, if somebody's really inflamed and they have a lot of inflammation, the number will be a little bit higher. That means they might be overtraining. They might not, be as consistent as they can be in other aspects, the other hours of the day that they're not training. So nutrition obviously plays a huge role. And if they have sensitivity to certain foods, like that could cause inflammation, which could cause other issues in their gut and things like that, which will affect their their body weight and things like that. So that's the first thing. And then I usually do a screening on them a lot of times, and I try to make it so they're not feeling as if I'm trying to test them. You know what I mean? Like, so like I'll go through like a basic squat. I'll go through, it's like an intro workout. So like basic squat, basic hinge pattern, you're pushing, you're pulling, all that kind of stuff. And I think as long as you kind of just treat it as you're just trying to help them, and you're gonna broadcast all the good things they're doing. So I think as long as you kind of treat them as the rock star and highlight all those positive aspects, they're gonna want to keep coming back. So
absolutely,
you don't want to say all the things they did wrong. You want to say all the things they're doing really, really well.
Absolutely,
So, and again, you could interrupt me at any time with this, but would you say, is there anything that you see in your own clients, like as far as like when you first start with them, where you try to highlight right away, or like what is there certain things that you go towards as far as like when you're first starting with somebody?
Yeah. So that's all great stuff, by the way, Eric.
Yeah.
I love the fact that you not only have a system, but you have it documented.
Yeah,
That's actually really
Yep.
smart, especially for whenever other trainers are mentoring under you. If you're mentoring trainers and you're developing newer trainers, so that's really cool.
Yep.
I should take my own notes a little bit better. So I love what you said about how you do the movement assessment. You do your squat, hinge, press,
all the basics,
pattern, and you emphasize what they do right. When I first started coaching, part of it was probably inexperience was a big part of it, but there was also insecurity as well, and just kind of figuring out what best way to communicate to the client. I would focus on what needed to be improved and what they quote unquote did wrong, the hip positioning, shoulder positioning, whatever, that kind of stuff. But now I very much do it the way that you do it as well. I focus on these are the things you did really, really well. So you can reinforce those things and give them positive feedback. And then this is something that we can work on and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think my big thing with coaching clients, Nano, lay down. Thank you. Making too much noise. Is I want the time to be valuable. I want their time. I want the person to leave having grown and having gained something. I don't want the time to be. Now your energy will be expended, right? They'll have invested time, money, and energy into training, but I want them to leave with a skill set, with knowledge, with experience, and hopefully with obviously physical results as well. So.
Yeah, no, to add to that, I agree 100%. I think after every session I have with a client, I want them to leave with something that they can take home with them. Sometimes it's literature. You can literally give them an article or something like that.
Absolutely,
and I say you could text them the article, be like, hey, check out this article on nutrition or training base, whatever it is. But I think, again, it goes back to consistency on our end as coaches, but also on their end. I think the more consistent we are with providing them with information and following up, the more they're apt to follow up as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I think it goes back to like they have to hold up on their end, but we also have to hold up on our end as well. So I think that it goes both avenues. But to kind of getting off on a tangent a little bit, but the fitness tips that I think are most valuable are, okay, like as a coach, do I start off with, when I first start with them, do I make sure that I have their goals in mind, right? Do I make sure that I stay consistent with how I approach that kind of stuff? And then over time, I think, again, it goes back to the mindset thing of, okay, how can I keep this person, the person in front of me, how can I keep them interested long term? I think, at the end of the day, I think I want them to be self-efficient and be able to go off on their own and train. And not necessarily need you all the time.
Train them to where they don't need you anymore. Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
But I also think too, it's very easy to fall in the trap of just having them rely on you more or less and giving them workouts or programs each month, and just say like, follow my lead and that's it. Like each time they're just going to follow your lead, but then they won't go off on their own and try things on their own. So I think getting them comfortable in their environment is going to be important too. So.
Yeah.
And again, it's very easy to fall in the trap of getting comfortable with, having them just rely on you, which, you know what I mean by that?
Oh, no, absolutely. Yeah. I couldn't agree more. No, I think you're right. I think that's, as coaches, we are serving the client in front of us, right? We're mentoring, we're coaching, we're assessing, we're correcting, and but it is a team effort. And the clients that are most successful in any personal training program, and that's the same for sporting events too, sports too, right? Football, basketball, 100%, baseball.
100%,
if you are fully bought into the program, to the system, and you're consistent, and you do what the coach says, and of course provide feedback when applicable, when applicable, then you'll be the most successful. If you're only doing your training when you're in the presence of your coach, and not accounting for those other, 165 to 163 hours in a week, the rest of them, then you're not going to be as successful. So definitely, self-sufficiency is the key.
Yeah, I mean, so in even like understanding where someone's previous training history is, so knowing what they've done in the past is important too. I think people want to feel like they belong whatever they're doing. But I think in the aspects of, let's say, training, a lot of times people feel like their doctor said, oh, you're a higher risk for X, Y, or Z. So they're like, okay, you probably should, build some sustainable habits to be able to stay healthy and live longer. But the problem is, people a lot of times will think of training as torture. And and that's why I think it's finding what you like, but also as a coach being able to dig a little bit deeper and find out what that person does best in, I guess. You know what I mean? Like
Definitely.
Some people are into powerlifting. Some people are, more you're just casual gym goer and, you just want to really work on movement quality or there's some people that are into CrossFit, whatever it is, but you got to find what that is.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm not a big advocate of CrossFit, but just in general, whatever you're into, I think you just got to figure out what that is. I always tell people when they first start too that you may not know what that is right away.
Absolutely, yeah.
And my goal is to help find that and or yourself find that. And I think once you do, then you're going to want to keep coming back. So those are probably the keys. And I usually come up with what I call process goals. So things that you can do every single week that get us closer to that outcome.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's the main thing. If I could get someone to buy into the process first, keeping it simple, keeping the programming simple. I think you don't need to overcomplicate things. Yeah. So some of my big tips I would say right away that I tell people are, I stick to more or less full body workouts for most clients.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But there's some clients I do upper lower with. There's some clients I do push pull leg with. It really depends on your training age, obviously your training history, your injury history, and what you're looking to accomplish and what the time frame that you're looking to accomplish it in.
And like that weekly training schedule, how many days a week you'll commit to training.
Right. So then the process goals become so like if you're a lot of times I come up with performance goals for clients. So it'll be like, okay, like let's look for a certain exercise that we're trying to, let's say a chin up. We want to be able to, chin ups, I think a good fitness goal for upper body strength, and especially for somebody that's on the newer side, they may be intimidated because they've seen people do chin ups. They're like, that looks cool. Like I want to be able to do that. So I think being able to come up with a process goals of, okay, we're going to work on X, Y, and Z to get you there. And I think with process goals for somebody that's new to the gym, like let's say they just started out, it's like, okay, like how many days can we 100% commit to every single week? So it could be like, I can commit to 2 60-minute training sessions a week. Okay, that's a process goal. So we'll say, we'll set up a chart. I'll usually set up a chart with somebody and we'll say, okay, here's your process goals. Every time you complete a process goal each week, you check that off. So if you do your 2 training days, we'll check that off. That's a pretty big deal for somebody that never entered a gym and all of a sudden they're doing 2 times a week. You're going to see some results. You're going to see progress if you keep doing that every week.
Absolutely.
So I think that kind of stuff, and then a lot of times I'll do like a training-based process goal. So it could be just X amount of times getting into a gym each week. A lot of times I'll come up with like a nutrition process goal. So it could be like eat 3 fruits and 3 vegetables daily, or whatever it is. And every time you do it, you just check it off. And I think there's so many different answers to that, but whatever that would be for you. And I think, and again, sticking to it and being consistent with it, and then all of a sudden you can progress it. So I think there's something to be said about obviously consistency, but also effort, the effort you put into doing these things. Does that make sense? So I would say that's the big thing. And like I don't know what you use for your screening, I'd be curious. Like I use like the functional movement screening. Yeah. Just to get an idea, again, there's a scoring system for that. We could treat this for another episode, look up the functional movement screening. But I think there's a lot of value in that. But also, too, like each training session, you're evaluating them without them even realizing it. So I think that's another key thing. I'd be curious to know, like when your first training session with somebody, what's that look like? Your intro workout. Like I'll tell you my intro workout, but I'm curious to know, like when you start with somebody, what do you typically do? Like what's a first session look like for you?
Yeah, so all great points, by the way. Yeah. And really quick side note, then I'll answer that question. I also have for myself a process goal. Yep. And since the day Vivi was born last year, January 22nd, my process goal has been to get at least 2 training sessions in a week for myself.
There you go.
And ideally shooting for 3.
Are you hitting them?
So
Are you hitting those goals?
Yes, I am. Yeah, there have been out of the last 9 months almost, there have been 2 weeks where I hit only 1 training session in the week. Now the first week was just the week she was born, so I was exhausted.
Yeah.
And then the other week I was actually working around a minor injury. But every other week I've hit that 2 to 3 goals.
Awesome.
So it is powerful. It is powerful. So have that good process goal, and it's very, very powerful.
Yep.
Yeah. So first session with me, it really depends, and I know that's a very safe answer, but it depends on the goals and what they want to do. Because I'm in the kettlebell world, that's kind of where I've been really active the last few years with Strong First and with Deviate. I've had more people come to me for kettlebell coaching. So in regards to that, it's basically we sit down, we do the questionnaire, we talk about exercise and injury history, specific goals, whether they be performance and or aesthetic, which ideally, by the way, I recommend having both. I want you to ideally have a performance and an aesthetic goal.
Absolutely.
And really focusing on the performance goal will ultimately lead you to that aesthetic goal.
Absolutely.
If we focus on performance in a lift or an event, a competition or something like that.
Yep.
But so if someone comes to me and they say, I want to learn kettlebells, like the newest person I've signed up reached me through the Strong First website, and they said, I want to do simple and sinister style training, which is kettlebell swings and Turkish get-ups. So they have kettlebells, they've been training before. So my main thing was, once we did our warm-up, movement prep, and all that fun stuff, I said, show me your swing. Let's see what your swing looks like.
Yeah.
And from there, I emphasized what was done well, which this person understood the basics of the hinge.
Right.
We just had to focus on kind of hip positioning and focus on kind of just little minor tweaks, but they had the general gist of it down. So for them, it was still an assessment, but it wasn't like getting a bare bones beginner into it. Now, if it's someone that's never been to a gym and is like very new and really has no idea what the heck they want to do, then definitely I'd go more so the style you do. I'm not officially screened officially certified with FMS, so I don't really officially use them, but I do employ some of their methods. I do the traditional squat, not the overhead squat, but I use the inverted row on the TRX. It's one of my favorite things because it can be scaled to the person. Totally. And then I'll typically use a box or a bench or something for incline push-ups. And if they own the push-up in that position, then we'll kind of progress it to where we're at that kind of point where it's more challenging.
Totally.
And kind of figure out what their level is. But yeah, squat, hinge, push, pull, and factor that in, almost like a witch with the big cauldron, and put it all in together for the recipe. What are your goals? What do you want to work on?
Yeah.
What do you want to achieve? And what can we do? I think the one thing I want to hammer through, and this is something that a lot of coaches struggle with, myself in the past as well, when someone comes to me to train, it's my job to adapt my system to meet the needs of that client.
Totally.
It's not my job to mold the client to fit my system.
Totally. Yep.
So my system, I do have principles and methods that I use, but there are things that are adaptable and that are ready to change when they need to.
Right.
When a client's goals change, if we go kettlebell heavy for a couple years and they decide that they want to go into powerlifting, sure, we could still train with kettlebells, but we need to get them under a barbell, assuming that they can do so safely and effectively and that they're ready for that goal.
Totally.
So it's we're serving the client.
Yep.
They're not serving us.
Correct.
They're investing in us.
Right.
But it's ultimately our job to serve them and guide them in the right direction.
Yep. Yeah. No, it's all great points, Demarco. I think it even goes back to what I've preached before in the past, is every single person is a little different, how their bodies function, but how they move. So I think based on the individual, obviously their body mechanics are going to be different. So I always read, you always like surf through Instagram and you'll see, let's say, somebody deadlifting, and there's so many different ways to deadlift.
Yeah.
Right. So I always say, like, from a variation standpoint, there's so many ways to skin a cat, and there's so many ways to approach, individualizing your training for each person. So yes, like I always tell people, like, you'll squat, you'll hinge, you'll push, you'll pull, you'll do a variation of core movements, you'll do some metabolic conditioning at some point. But at the end of the day, the principles, a lot of them, yes, they're going to stay the same, but based on that individual, we might do a modification of that movement. So
absolutely.
I always think, like, you're not going to day one take somebody under a barbell and back squat them, or front squat them even. You want to make sure that they have the prerequisites prior to getting them to do those things. So I think it's important as a coach to make sure the movement quality is number one, right? So I think like think of it as a skill, and you're training. You're basically, you want to make sure that they're getting better at the movements, and that they're proficient to be able to progress in those movements. Yep. And if you have those two things down and they're having fun, they're most likely going to make progress, right?
Yeah.
So it's a win-win-win. Basically, a couple key points too is like, like squats. I always go to like goblet squatting as a good way to sort of correct any sort of like, I say core weakness, but a lot of times people tend to like round when they go down into a squat. Sometimes just magically throwing a dumbbell in there. I think it was Dan John would say like, what once was a garbage squat will turn into a decent looking squat sometimes, and you just add a dumbbell, to their chest.
Absolutely.
So I think goblet squat's a really good variation for more people, more the newcomers. I would say somebody that once you get the prerequisites, once you make sure they can squat pretty well. Push-ups, obviously, again, you had said starting elevated, and then you can work your way to the ground. There's so many different variations of a push-up. And then obviously there's a ton of plank variations. So I think understanding that you can utilize, you're never too good for a plank. I think some people think they could, I can hold the plank for 5 minutes, like I'm good. It's like, no, there's so many different variations and ways to do it. So single leg exercises, like single leg training is so useful and important.
And everyone neglects it because no one likes to do it.
No one likes to do it. It's not sexy, right?
Yeah.
So like unilateral training, I think should be in most people's program. I say should. It definitely should be.
Absolutely.
It's there's no like not unless you have an injury, and obviously you have to work around that. But in general, your single leg deadlifts, your split squats, your lunges, any sort of single leg variation you can think of at some point from a regression model should be implemented in someone's plan, more or less. So I think it doesn't go without being said that all these things we're mentioning, obviously it's going to be based on the individual. So there's not like like you have to do this movement. Like I think that's one thing you could probably relate to as well. If a coach tells you like you have to do blank exercise, I think that they're probably not as qualified as they should be, because there's a lot more to it than just one movement. You know
Absolutely,
what I mean? So
absolutely.
you can't base a full I say a full program, but in general, like if you're like you have to back squat, it's like no, there's like so many different ways to squat. You know what I mean? It's
absolutely,
yeah. So that's where I think in the industry, if someone says that, they're probably underqualified, more or less.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then outside of that, I mean, obviously with cardio, I think people so kind of in going into all our fitness tips, I think cardio should be secondary for most people for fat loss.
Absolutely.
That being said, obviously, if you are a marathon runner and you are doing something specifically for sport or whatever it is, there may be more cardio implemented.
Of course.
But I think programs should be centralized more around resistance training, and then cardio is kind of that secondary piece.
Exactly.
So, but it's something that should be said, because I think a lot of times people think I'll do more cardio and that'll help me with fat loss. In reality, it's usually the opposite.
Yeah.
Resistance training first and then cardio. Anything to add to that as far as the cardio and resistance training?
No, okay. I think that was a great pointer. And there's the big debate. That's one of the oldest debates on the internet is should you do your cardio before or after your strength training? And there are people that will give you both sides of the argument, and I've seen both methods implemented and done pretty well. So it just again depends on your goals and what you want to do. You mentioned the word fun earlier. That's another piece there. It's not punishment. It should be fun. Yep. Training should be fun, and there will be times where it sucks. If you're it's not all roses, but I love doing my sinister training, but when I'm 4 minutes into a 5-minute swing test and I'm sucking wind, it's not that moment's not fun.
I think training is not always going to be fun, but you keep going back knowing long term what the outcome can be. Yeah. I say it can be, because you have to put the work in still, and the consistent hard work over time will be where you get
that's it, man.
The results. So, and that being said too, like I'm not gonna lie, there's some training days where I don't want to do it, but I tell myself like long term I'm gonna feel better, but also short term I'm gonna feel better too. So
absolutely.
Afterward I'm gonna feel good. So as long as you're fueling your body right and you're being consistent there, which nutrition's a whole other topic, but I think that's useful as well. I think key takeaway points, even with nutrition, is in the easiest way possible, is to just eat what makes you feel good. You know what I mean? Like if you're eating foods that you feel like shit afterward, then it's probably not good foods to eat, right?
There you go.
And obviously everyone's different in what they like, so there's no like specific meal plan where I'm like, this is what you have to eat. Intuitive eating is obviously going to be the best, and there's so many sources that we can give you, if me or Demarco or anybody in the industry. I always think like nutrition is secondary for me. Like I'm a nutrition coach through Precision Nutrition, so I have a little bit of experience, but I'm not a nutritionist or a dietitian. So like I don't prescribe like you have to eat this much, protein or carbs. I'll give you an idea about how much, but training is definitely in my wheelhouse. Nutrition is definitely secondary.
Absolutely.
So I don't like prescribe a ton of nutrition advice. I give the basics. So I'm sure you're probably in the same camp there.
Oh, absolutely. Right? Yeah. And that's where the internet can be a little frustrating at times, because you get people that they do 1 or 2 bodybuilding shows and they're in tremendous shape and their conditioning is impressive. And again, not to knock that style of training, they are very dedicated, very dedicated professionals. But they'll do 1 or 2 shows and then, do my workouts, follow my meal plan. And it's just, there's no customization. There's no, just do this.
And people feel miserable doing it because they don't like some of the stuff. So it's like if it's miserable for you, it's not going to last you forever. Because
if you're training for a bodybuilding or physique or bikini show, it's going to suck.
Yeah.
You're going to have to really reduce your calories. You're going to go through the depletion and all that stuff, and it's not fun. But if you're just a normal everyday Joe like we are, and you just want to get stronger, feel better, move better, maybe lose some weight or tone up or whatever, then you definitely don't need to go to those extreme measures. So, and anybody that gives you a cookie cutter system is suspect. Very suspect.
That's red flag. Throw the flag. But again, I think there's always time to get better. I think as a fitness professional and just being in the industry as long as I have been, being 5 going on 6 years, I think I've realized that there's so much more to learn, and that when I first started out, you always think you know everything, and then you realize I don't know a whole lot, or there's a lot more I need to learn. So I think it's never too late, even as any young coaches, like to seek out a mentor or just continue to learn from sources that are trusted in the industry.
Absolutely.
Because you can learn so much in such a short period of time. You're just by Instagram, like that alone, but also, like I said, seeking a mentor or finding like-minded people and joining a community of those people. So there's you can reach out to us if you have any questions on that. But even just to dive deeper into like, I'm all about mindset too. So I think understanding things that will help you through whatever you're trying to do. So I think continue to educate yourself, obviously being towards the top as a fitness professional, but even as the client. You know what I mean? I think you should be educating yourself regularly, right? So like, I'm not going to tell you all the answers day one that you want to hear. And a lot of the answers aren't sexy answers. But at the end of the day, like you a lot of times, like I said, we're a guide. So we, if there's certain topics that you want more information on, that's where we can come in and help, right? So, and then that also goes next into self-care, making sure you care for your body in a lot of different ways, right? So just even like daily hygiene, but also understanding as a fitness professional or just as the client that, you have to be up on your hygiene, right? That's pretty important. If you want to be more attractive to a significant other or whatever, you have to make sure you keep that stuff in check. Thoughtfulness. So, making sure, I think as a coach, making sure to reach out to your clients, like I said, like weekly, but also, if they have some event coming up, making sure that you're reaching out to them about that kind of stuff. I think like weekly emails, like I have kind of been away from that lately, but
same, me too.
But I do want to get back to that. I want to get back to like blogging and stuff like that. I do like weekly emails and posts to clients. That way they're in tune with what I'm reading and like things that I like to do and stuff like that. So you're same boat for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Trying to get back in the workflow as well.
Yeah.
Because that stuff is important for, relationship building.
Oh, totally.
It's not just working out. There's a lot more going on.
Yep. And then obviously mental health, I think, is important too, to make sure you're meditating or at least relaxing and not like always go. I think, I'm sure Demarco, you can agree, like it's easy to get trapped in just being busy all the time and not giving time to yourself. So it's always like give and never never anything for yourself.
It's even tougher when you have kids because there's just a lot of variables to shuffle. So,
because of course we're here to serve others, but at the same time we find ourselves sometimes, forgetting about ourselves. So to make sure that you as a coach, specifically because I've been doing it for longer now, that I've realized that you have to maintain these things, because if not, you won't sustain your health. So, anything else to add to that?
I think those are all great points.
Yep. And then outside of that, I would say, like, again, even as a coach, we'll go back to that, but fitness tips I always tell people is things like mobility and things like just being consistent with activity daily, I think is important, and not losing sight of that stuff. It's very easy as a professional in any industry to get lazy and not want to do things. So I think being consistent with activity at all times is going to be important. Outside of that, I think having non-negotiables for yourself. So having things that, like, you will do, and this would be for a client, things you would do daily, but at least weekly. X amount of times you're going to train, like we've talked about. Maybe try to get outside in the morning, or find a time of the day to get outside. Your vitamin D, if it's nice out, obviously with the sun, but also just being able to, like, clear your mind, walk, things like that. Those are really, really important daily tasks. Some people track it with they have a tracker on their phone or like a chart or something like that of, like, daily tasks that you're going to do every day. So, like, find, like, a top 5 things you're going to do and make sure you shatter that and do most of those things. Could be like just checking your emails or deleting emails. Like I said, could be going outside for a walk, could be trying to hit a X amount of protein daily, whatever it is, but, like, have some things that you're gonna do daily, and be consistent with those things. And then obviously, like, outside events or anything else that you have in your life, just make sure that you're tracking these things and you're consistently doing them. And obviously it may change week to week, but obviously I think even with, like, having a grocery list, like, that seems so small, but it adds up.
Oh, absolutely.
People just aimlessly walk around, or they go hungry to a grocery store. I've done that before.
That's a big mistake.
Yep. Step count, I think, is another key one. Making sure you stay, again, back to, like, walking daily and stuff like that, but be consistent with your steps. I think it's very easy to fall in the trap of sitting a lot of the day, but if you have a watch or something like that, which I don't have a watch, but I'm on my feet all day. So, but in general, I think a lot of people with desk jobs and things like that, if they have a watch or something like that, it's not going to be 100% accurate. It'd probably be 25% in either direction.
Yeah.
But having something to just track or have an idea about how much you're getting in or how much you're not getting in, I think that'll be useful just long term. But like I said, I think don't rely on the trackers, calorie trackers, whatever they are, because a lot of times they're inaccurate.
Oh yeah, those.
But it gives you something to look at. I think financially have information, as far as I know. This is separate to training, but I think it's good to keep up on your finances and any other aspects of your life. Be consistent with tracking things, so that way okay, where your money's going or where your time and efforts are going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What gets measured gets improved.
Yep. I think did I say that, or you?
I think you said that.
Yeah, I think I said. I've heard that before. Yeah. I think reading some good books. Obviously, there's a lot of good books out there. I think reading daily is obviously going to be crucial too. And then I actually wanted to. I have a couple things for just instant things to improve your health. Things that I think anyone can pick up right away. I think. I don't know if we could do like a kind of a rapid fire thing. Like I'll start with some of the things I have, and then maybe you could add to it. At the end of the day, like I think having just some sort of plan and then executing it's going to be number one.
Absolutely.
For anybody. I think that falls into the trap a lot of times where people will have these grand plans but then not do any of them, or they'll say like, hey, like I don't need a coach or whatever, and then like next thing you know, those are the people they're saying they don't need a coach, but they're not actually doing anything about it to get better. So it's like,
yeah, exactly.
You gotta, in my opinion, just get started, whatever that is. So continue to read and educate yourself would be like one of my top things for anybody. Educate yourself on just whatever the topic is in your life that you're like. Again, we're more on the exercise route, but it could be anything. You always want to educate yourself and find the right sources.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good ones out there for training that we could help you with. I would say focusing on a small group of movements rather than a large group of movements. So get really good at a couple things rather than just try to do a lot of things all at once. I'd say balance is big too. Like balance your life, your work life and your home life. You want to make sure you're balanced with all that stuff. Obviously, drink more water. You can never get enough. I carry a freaking jug on me all the time.
Absolutely.
So we got that. I say treat me as a guide to help you get better, but don't rely on me. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, like, we want you to be self-efficient long term, and you, on your own eventually should be, again, like, we could stay with you for 4 years, obviously. Like, I know you've been with Sean for a while.
Mm-hmm. Like, we go three years, yeah.
Yeah, like having a coach, like I have a coach as well. I think it's good to have somebody that you're investing your time into, but at the end of the day, like, you should be able to do these things on your own eventually. Like, we should be able to coach you to the point where you feel comfortable doing it on your own. We're there as a guide if you want to level up, obviously, and get better. But at the end of the day, like, we want you to be self-efficient and not rely on us every single time. So
absolutely.
It's really important. I would say the best workout split is the one that you're not doing. So I think I hear that all the time as far as like a Mind Pump Media. They're really, really good. They'll say that. And like a lot of times, like whatever someone tells you, they probably need to do whatever the other thing that they're not doing is. So if you're doing body part splits and you're just doing like all those, chest, tries, back, back, buys, legs, shoulders, you're doing that every time. Like, let's switch it up. Let's do like push, pull, leg, or let's do upper, lower splits, or whatever it is. Change the rep schemes up, change the movement exercises that you're the movement categories you're doing. So Demarco's really good with kettlebells. So like you can maybe switch up to that, or just in general find the methodology or the method that you like a lot or that you want to learn more about. So we can help guide you to that process. At the end of the day, keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate it, but you want to find what works best for you and something you can do long term. I would say those are big things. But I would say, obviously, at the end of the day, when you think about training, you have to have your nutrition on point. So that's another key one. I want to make sure I hit all these points here. So prioritize mobility. You could segment it to your lower part of your body, the mid part of your body, and the upper part. So different components of your body. Make sure you're hitting all those components. When you're doing mobility. Even if it's an upper body day, let's say, or upper body intensive, you could still do mobility on your lower half. You don't want to neglect that necessarily. I would say like working conditioning. I think burning extra calories isn't necessarily a bad thing. I do think that resistance training, like I said, is probably going to be your best avenue for fat loss. But at the end of the day, adding in some conditioning or cardio-based elements over the course of your program is important too, for heart health, but also just mental health and stuff like that. So I would say try to drink water when you first get up, and I would say like front load your water throughout the day. So try to get a lot of water at the beginning of the day if you can. That way you're not like chugging water before you go to bed and getting up in the middle of the night. I would say continue to move. Have a reward system if you're moving frequently. If you're moving, if you're getting in your steps for the day, let's say, then maybe you could have that dessert that you've been craving. But if you're sitting on the couch all day, it's like, you shouldn't be eating like crap, because it's just gonna just go to your gut and you're gonna feel like crap. So I think it's good to be consistent with your practices for your movement, but also your nutrition. Make lists, brainstorm. Always be consistent with all that kind of stuff, with setting goals for yourself. One of the couple other things too, like training your legs often, I think is important. So like I said, full body workouts are going to be crucial, but a lot of times people skip leg day, and I think that's something that if you're skipping leg day, then that's a big part of your body. That's gonna if you want to improve your overall strength and the amount of muscle you have, that's a big portion of your body. So make sure you're hitting your legs. I would say, like I've kind of talked about, eat for your health and longevity. So just be consistent with the types of foods you're eating, but also, you can't go wrong with your fruits and veggies, your protein, good protein, drinking enough water, being consistent with all that kind of stuff. And then obviously other things such as like your sleep, which is, I say obviously, it's not obvious for some people, but that's going to be crucial for how you feel. Making small changes and investing in yourself obviously is going to be key. I would say, you want to get to the point where you're not, from a standpoint of training, nutrition, but anything is find something that you really like, stick to it for a period of time, give it a chance, and then you can move on to something else.
Exactly. Yeah.
So anything to add to all that? I think just I said a lot of things.
No, it's good stuff. No,
Yeah.
I think those are all great points. I mean, focus on what's fun. You know, if you truly have no idea what to do or how to get started, find a great coach.
Yeah.
You're gonna find some resources online and definitely go from there. I think that was good, man.
Yeah, I think
we can make that be our
much.
closer. So, want to thank you all so much for watching. And if you have any questions or anything, you can hit us up on the Instagram channel. So the page, Strength with Purpose. And then is it
eChichu23? Yep.
eChichu23 on Instagram. We're obviously on this YouTube platform as well as now Spotify. So super pumped about that. And we will see you next time. Train your body, feed your mind.